unfair practices before they can take root and spread financial hardship. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. I want to thank the whole panel for the testimony. I want to begin with you, Ms. Dixon. Stellar's transforming global payments. So let's get into this. Rather than getting into the description of how it's done, let's talk about the effect. What are the benefits of blockchain technology? Not just your network, but the underlying technology. What are the most promising innovations? What are the benefits?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question, Mr. Chairman. The most important piece here is that we forget that the global majority doesn't have access to the traditional banking infrastructure that we do here in the United States. And when you think about the fact that the highest demand is the US dollar. They want to be able to leverage the US dollar, at least to be able to receive money from diaspora, from the US and from elsewhere. They want to be able to leverage that in a way that's cheap, efficient, and secure. That is what blockchain technology does for them. If you think about, there are several opportunities to discuss like the impact, but we have worked with the UNHCR to be able to deliver aid into countries throughout the world in a very fast and secure manner. Not only did it help the UNHCR from their security standpoint and to deliver aid quickly, it also made it so that it was much more secure for the people on the ground, so they didn't have to hold cash. The end user could receive, the refugee or the internally displaced individual receives the aid and is able to receive it within 3 minutes because of the fact that they can download the app and receive the aid right then and decide, do I want to push it to my bank account? Do I want to cash out in the local currency? How do I want to handle this? That's all done with US dollar stablecoins. And then when you think about, we just recently published a short documentary that talked about how in San Francisco, Colombia, there was an organization that was just starting up and they had to pay their individuals all in cash. And what happened is the CEO of that organization was impacted. He was actually held up because he had so much cash and he was nearly killed. He then started using blockchain technology with all of his workers, and not only did it support the work that they were doing where they were able to receive the digital asset and then cash out at the MoneyGram locations locally, they then went and spent that money in the local stores. We call that the on-chain effect. So it's not just that it's actually leveraging the individuals, it's helping local businesses in areas where they might not have access to this kind of money. So
well, thank you, Ms. Dixon. It's fantastic. And I think that gives us a great top line. Mr. Coley, AngelList has revolutionized our private markets, truly has, and particularly how startups access capital. Can you name a couple of companies that have benefited from your platform? And then talk about how does your vision for the private markets become reality?
Thank you for the question. In terms of the companies that have benefited, the most popular one actually is Uber. When Uber first started and they were raising their very first round of funding, they actually did it on AngelList. They actually met, I think, more than half the angel investors from AngelList itself. And in terms of the impact to the U.S. economy, I mean, it's pretty self-evident at this point. Outside of that, we have many other companies such as Notion, which is a productivity tool that has actually raised early capital from a lot of the fund managers on AngelList as well. In terms of what is necessary to continue build on this vision for the private markets, I'll actually second what Mr. Henry Ward said, where I do think opening up access to even more investors, being able to invest into private venture funds and giving them more capital to back early stage startups will allow 1,000 flowers to bloom. It means that even more startups will get created, even more innovation gets unleashed into the U.S. economy. And I would say really the highest point of leverage actually is increasing investor access, the number of investors into private venture funds.
Okay, so about that, Mr. Ward, you know, we've got a decline in the number of public companies. We see the best returns in the private markets. How do you think we address those concerns, or address that issue in a safe way?
Chairman McHenry, I think the historical view was how do we push more companies into the public regime, which I don't think is the right answer. There are companies that should be public, and the public markets are fantastic for them, where they're rewarded for stability, predictability, less volatility. And then when you want to work on bigger ideas or longer duration ideas, private markets are a better place for those companies. Instead of trying to push more private companies to go public early, my view is the posture should be, how do we make private markets better run and better managed for companies, but as well as investors that participate in the private markets?
Thank you. And Mr. McCauley, Anchorage is unique that it's the only nationally chartered trust dealing in crypto and other tokenized assets. What's the benefit? What's the public benefit to you having a federal regulatory regime?
Chairman McHenry, thank you for the question. Our benefit to the public is trust and transparency. So we are able to, as a national bank holding digital assets, allow our institutional investors to hold assets in a way that is compliant, regulated, safe, and secure. This benefits both the institutional investors that are holding with us and their downstream investors. For example, we custody for some of the large ETFs, and so we provide safe and secure custody for them, which provides a benefit to all of the underlying investors of those.
Well, I want to thank the whole panel for making yourself available. In particular, Mr. Coley, thank you for flying overnight. We hope to not keep you here all too long. With that, I'll recognize the ranking member, Ms. Waters, for
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.